But whether I decide I'm going to go ahead or not, you'll get to see what I tried to make anyway. I'll say tried to make, on account of I probably won't succeed very well. Okay, next thing now is to mount them. I'm not going to put the stickers on again. Stickers, the Volvo ones in this particular case, can go on afterwards. Yes, it is easier to put them on now because you've got this thing flat. It's easier to put a transfer on here or a sticker on here at this point in time, but they can always be taken off the chassis, and if that's is an issue. And yes, you really would want to take them off to put the sticker on, because when that's hung up like that vertically, if you imagine, and you're trying to put a sticker on and trying to and this is floppy and there's all the stuff in the way, you can imagine it'd be quite a pain in the neck. So take it off, you can put it down, and now it's not going anywhere, and you've got a flat surface. Also wants to be degreased as well. So something like well, I'll be using isopropyl alcohol, but I guess you could use soap and water, make sure it's really dry afterwards, because these I think are stickers, so they're sticky, they're not transfers. Or you could use panel wipe. I was going to say alcohol, that's not drinking alcohol, by the way, that's sort of medical alcohol. You could use as well to wipe these things down, or just rub them really well with a dry cloth, dry tissue type of thing. Okay, now then what we're going to do now is get out the some screws and another metal part which goes between the chassis plates, which is in here. So there's a metal tube. I don't quite know why there's a metal tube in there, but there is. So maybe it's for some other form of accessory afterwards. We have that. Now we want screws again. You're always getting screws out. This is why I said right at the start, if you can get something like a closed lid container that you can dump these things into, and the label as well, makes it really easy, because otherwise I've got to keep doing like this, keep going into the in and out of the individual bags to get out the things that I want. Now then, the BA5 is 3x12mm, which is the medium sized ones, which I think is all that's left in here. Oh no, there's some long ones, and these are the medium sized ones. Okay, and you can always check the size, because these things are roughly to scale, or roughly almost exactly to scale, so you can put it on, and yeah, they're the right ones. I need 2 of those, and I need 2 screws from pack C. So I'm, if you like, wasting quite a bit of time going in and out of these bags, but part of the fun of building it. It wouldn't be fun if I'd got all these mixed up. It would be a real unfun thing. So it's, you know, it's one of these things that, you know, it might be wasting time, but it's kind of worth wasting time. As I say, if you don't want to waste that time, go out and buy a couple of containers to keep the things in. I do have some around somewhere, don't know where they are. Otherwise I'd be using them. Now then, these then are used to mount onto the bottom of here. So I'm going to just move those to one side so I can bring this into screen. This then goes in there with the screws. So I'm going to put thread lock in this. Again, easier to put thread lock in this than it is on the screws. And it looks like that needs a bit of a clean. As you can see, this is kind of gone sort of slightly rubbery, sticky, which is what it's doing. It's doing its job. Now then, I've got that upside down correctly. I've got to get the right ones. They go that way. The mud flaps or the mud flaps are sticking upwards. I'm going to start by putting the one that's going into plastic in first. Just because I want to do it that way. Then I can take this, quite a long screw as well, and that has to go through there, through there. Then we're to hold this in place and screw the bolt into it. Again, I'll tighten it up in a minute. I'm going to do the other side. Now I'm going to do it sort of by leaning across. Normally if I was working on this, what I'd probably do is turn the whole thing around. But I don't have as much space with, you know, some of the equipment I've got on the desk here, like the microphone and the chat window on the screen over there, and a control stream deck just to the left of me here that you can't see. Now if I turn this round, I'll be knocking things all over left, right and centre, so try and give yourself as much space as you can when you're working with these. It's definitely worth it. Space is a nice luxury, and if you've got it, use it. Now this is one of the shorter trucks, so it's not too bad. This is, with this being a 4x2. So it is one of the shorter ones. In fact, it's probably the shortest of the trucks, of the tractors. Things like the King Hauler is significantly longer. Even the Scania 6x4 is quite a bit, well, I say quite a bit longer than this. It's got another axle which is about here. And then there's the tail on the end of it, so it's a good 6 inches longer than this. And of course, things like the King Hauler is you know, the American truck is probably at least twice as long as this. I don't particularly care for them myself, but some people do. And if you're working on the trailers are long. You really do need space for those. The trailers are got to be at least 3 foot long. So once you get the side frames together in it, at this sort of level, you need a big desk. So we've got that mounted. We've got got something on the floor. Box spanner. That's what I say. You need space. You need space. Okay, so next thing is, I'll just put that off to one side. We're going to get out and the 2 side skirts and mount the side skirts. So they're white. These will be painted. I'm just not going to do it at this moment in time. I'm going to mount them, and then they can be taken apart to paint. So it's these 2 parts here. Now I'm being careful not to tear the plastic lugs. Because these are visible parts of these, so you ideally want them to be as clean as possible in terms of, you don't want rips and tears in the plastic, and I'm going to file those down a little bit as well. What I will be doing when I come to paint them is to make sure I rub them down with... I've got two choices actually of the way I do it. I can just degrease them and apply colour directly. With them being white, it's not so bad. It means that the colour that I apply on top is reasonably illuminated, bolstered. If it was on black, the white and the black, you put a colour over the top, the effect, how it looks. With it being white, the colours will be brighter. What I would, if it was black, I'd be putting an undercoat underneath. Don't necessarily need to with this, but I'm probably going to put a primer coat on, perhaps with an adhesion compound to help stick to plastic. What I'll probably do is use some wet and dry paper, possibly, as I can certainly see a moulding mark in this, wet and dry paper to give it a key, and I'll be spraying with an airbrush. I'll be spraying these, probably red, because I like red, although I might use cyan. So the two side skirts there. What I also need out now are two other parts, which happen to be black. Which are these two here, part 12. These are kind of two hangers. You'll see how these go shortly. Right, I was going to consider, just file these. One of the things with edges like this, especially sharp edges, paint tends to pull away from sharp edges. So like the roughness there where the sprue was attached, the colour will tend to pull away from it. So smooth it down will mean it's less likely to do that. The other thing I'm going to do is just take the real edge off down there, just like that, just the sharp corner if you like, again because sharp corner means the paint will tend to pull away from the edge. Now I should really use a semi-round for this, because this isn't a straight edge, but I've been doing things like this on and off, so I can get away with it a little bit. I really should use a semi-round. In fact, I say I really should. I'm going to. He says looking for the files which I know are on here. If I can't find them fairly quickly, I'll be continuing to use the flat one. I know they're on here on the desk here somewhere. I just I'm not currently locating them. That's for something else. Okay. Right, I give up. I shall continue using the flat file. You can do it with care, and I've switched. That was the one I was doing. That's fine. Take the sharp corner off. So I'm using this like a draw file. well, it is. I'm not using it like a draw file. I am using it as a draw file. So you move it, you're moving it sideways. I don't know if you can see, there's like little tiny hairs coming off. They are actually the sharp edge of the plastic. So all I'm doing is just holding it at a slight angle and just dragging it along the edge. And it works because of the way in which the teeth, if you like, of the file are at an angle. So if you're dragging it along, then you're effectively filing it. Kind of, if you don't follow the explanation, don't worry about it. Just if you want to do it, just put the file on, just drag it along the edge. What I'm doing here actually is using my finger as well as a guide. So I'm putting it on, holding my finger against it, and then I can just drag. My finger holds the thing in the right place. If I was going to try and do it like this, it'd be sort of tending to wander. You can do it, it's just practice, but if you're not familiar with that, if you use your finger as the guide, you can just run it down. I'm not putting any pressure on this at all, it's just a real light I was about to say, I'm not putting any pressure on it, but I was using a real light pressure. I'm just holding it against the plastic, I think is the best way to describe it. I'm not pushing on it, I'm just holding it against. And you can hear the cut. Don't know if you heard that, but that's just a light cut. That'll do the job. Okay, so now 2 metal screws, BB5 again. BB is these, and the 5 are 2x8mm, which is the larger ones that are in this bag. Also the larger silver ones that are in the bag. And I want 4 of these out. And those are the 4. And whilst I'm in here, I know for the next section I want 4 of the little tiny, or the small dome-headed ones out for the next section. So I'm just, well, I've got this open, I'm going to get them out as well. Two. 3, 4. Okay, there for the next part. Just saving myself a little bit of time. So these fairly simply mount facing the right way. So that's that one, and this is this one, and they mount that way. So this piece here faces towards the front. Seems odd it will overlap that,